How does this whole thing go? Eat until you're full or eat until you're satisfied, protein, and then eat a stick of butter before bed? No. Let's get into it. Welcome everyone to my very humble life. Now let's get into the subject of priming. What a bunch of garbage. Look at my comment section of my videos when people are saying, I followed this steak and butter gal and I was eating as much meat as possible and I got sick. Or I started eating a stick of butter before bed and I got super sick. I've never been so sick in my life. Y'all, please do not listen to this garbage. I mean, I've heard everything from the if you're not pooping, it's because you're using all the protein, to just eat meat, ribeyes, and salt, and you can get all your electrolytes just from the meat itself. Or the amount of fat doesn't matter, or you can cycle off of keto. And my people, be very, very careful. Now, for those who've been following me for a while, this is not new. When you drop out your carbohydrates, you need gasoline to drive that car. It's either got to come from fat or carbs. You cannot get your energy from protein. You cannot restore glycogen storages from a bunch of ribeyes and ground beef. This is where y'all become very, very confused by the worst advice I've ever heard. To sit and prime and then call it something as if it's some kind of science that somebody made up to make some cash. What the frack? I keep getting comments with people injuring themselves from taking this god-awful advice. And this individual also talked about not pooping and look how flat my stomach is and I crap once a week. And I guess it really gets under my fingernails because I coach these people who are physically wrecked from this ideology that's garbled nonsense. Let's break down what happens when you eat as much protein as possible and then a stick of butter before you go to bed. First of all, like I mentioned, you cannot get into ketosis nor restore glycogen storages on meat. So it's not a carb. And if you're eating a bunch of ribeyes, there's not enough fat because that white gristle around the ribeye, it's fatty, but it also has protein fibers. So it's not pure fat. The drippings from that fat and fiber, protein fibers, is pure fat. The drippings. So you are not getting enough fat to get into ketosis. Remember, you cannot get your energy, glycogen storages, from a bunch of meat. You either try to drive ketosis and be ketotic, or you just go back to carbs. But you can't just do a bunch of meat. Now, you'll get the guys, the ding-dongs who are like, oh, bro, I'm doing the carnivore diet and I've been doing it, I'm amazing. I'm not your girl. And that's okay. Go find somebody else who will tell you what you want to hear, but I'm not your girl. So, if you're making comments in my comment section, well, you must like Stephanie, I'm just saying, because I would never comment on somebody's video that I thought their ideology was garbled nonsense. when you eat a lot of protein and you have hyperchlorhydria, you're not able to break down your protein very well. That's just to start with. The body can only chew, swallow, digest, and utilize and break apart these amino acids, these beads, with a certain amount and a certain timing. You can't just eat, sorry, I've got a puppy here. You can't just eat copious amounts of protein and digest it without a problem. We live in a fracked up world, and a lot of us develop hypochlorhydria, too low stomach acid. And we need stomach acid because that's how you break down protein. Yeah. People are low in protease, stomach acid, and dare I even go into the whole lipase. Yeah. We are missing the digestive equipment to even break down that ribeye. It's crazy. I know. But then you start eating a bunch of protein, and you feel full. Not only are you eating too much protein in one meal that you cannot utilize or store as glycogen, but you're not breaking it down very well. And a lot of you have leaky or leaking gut. So you're not able to even absorb all that protein. And then you start noticing stinky pee and foamy urine and back pain and all kind of weird affectations. A lot of you are struggling eating all that meat, but those people keep telling you to do it, so you keep doing it. And then your blood sugar spikes because what you can't utilize is reconverted back into glucose through gluconeogenesis, and your blood sugar spikes, and you can't get into ketosis, and you just don't have enough energy. I mean, let me count the ways of why eating too much protein or priming eating as much protein as possible is so stupid. Number one, hypochlorhydria. So people are feeling full and feeling out of sorts with all that protein. They don't sleep well because, a lot of people are fasting and they're skipping meals and they're drinking coffee. And so by the time they eat, they overeat. They can literally eat a pound or two in one meal. And then the body's like, well, I'm following a circadian rhythm, so yeah, I'm not going to fully digest all this food. I'm only going to partially digest it because I'm trying to get ready to go to bed and sleep. Why would I go and train for the Olympics before bed with digesting? So that meat stays in your stomach all night long, putrefying, a lot of it, and rancidifying in your gut. You wake up not hungry. And then you go hours without eating. And you don't know why you feel the way you feel. It's just all these gurus normalize it. So you're like, I'm doing great. It's fabulous. Fabulous. But you don't look fabulous. And you're still looking sick and tired because you're not getting the nutrients that you need for homeostasis. I can't believe after all these years I'm still saying the same crap. Why are people teaching y'all such bad advice? Do not prime. Yeah. So that protein's going to convert into glucose. Use a glucometer and check your blood sugar. Eating a lot of protein in one meal. A lot of you, not all, have hypochlorhydria. And then a lot of you have leaky gut. So you're not absorbing that protein. And then your glucose is spiking too high. And then that protein starts reacting like it's as if it's a candy bar. I mean, you're not storing glycogen, but your blood sugar is spiking. And the ketones just go to nothing. And then you're not in ketosis and you don't have enough glycogen storage, so the body thinks it's starving. And it starts breaking down the body even more. And then people start to see crepey skin. They start to see dark circles around their eyes. And then when you do a carnivore diet, you are always on the verge of having low blood pressure and chronic dehydration. But nobody talks about that. Because you can just get all your electrolytes from taking element garbage or salt in meat. I don't know. Yeah. Dehydration, eating a lot of meat, uric acid, purines, protein byproducts are going through the kidneys, back pain, dehydration. I mean, let me count the ways. That's not good. And then people start developing gout and high B12 and high iron because they have leaky gut. They're not actually working on the gut wall. Eating a bunch of meat is not working on the gut wall. You need to have your immune system not tank because you need energy. And you cannot get that energy from protein. Wee bit. But you can't store glycogen. You have blood sugar. And people who've got blood sugar issues now are having this insulin resistance rebound. Physiological insulin resistance rebound effect. And their insulin is like taking a vacation. And they become insulin resistant on meat. And then, I'm counting the ways. Your hair starts falling out. And you don't understand why. Because you're eating like a couple pounds of beef. And your inflammation went down in the beginning. And you felt great. But all of a sudden, you don't feel as great as you used to. But no gurus are telling you that you're going to feel like crap if you can't balance your electrolytes or get into ketosis on a carnivore diet. Or even what high iron or hemochromatosis or high B12, they're not going to talk about these things. I don't know why. Maybe they're not paying attention. Because a lot of people are experiencing this affectation. But then there's histamine. People are reacting to the red meat because they're not raising their own cattle and processing it. So we've got dry hung meat, God knows where it came from, and you're super reactive to it. Not at first. At first, the body, just like a vegan, oh my God, I felt amazing on veganism, and then as time goes by, oh, I feel like crap. Same thing with carnism, or even a ketogenic diet. This is where people are like, oh my God, tell us the solution. Don't prime. I've done so many videos that I'm shocked on how people want solutions when I've got a catalog of videos, with solutions. It's going to sound redundant, but what the frack? Let's do it. Okay. Eat moderate to low protein. The protein for women should be, depending on your size and activity level and your digestive enzymes and stomach acid, 50 to 75 grams of protein. That's very general. It could be a little higher. It might be a little lower. But that's sort of a sweet spot range depending on the individual. For men, it's 65 to 95. Every once in a while, somebody might touch a 105 in protein grams per day, not per meal, per day, of total protein, not weighted protein. Yeah. But again, what is your digestive equipment? Do you have histamine responses to certain foods? Because people are eating a stick of butter before going to bed and their gallbladder's freaking out. That's a whole nother thing. The gallbladder's like freaking out, right? Because the body doesn't digest very well right before you go to sleep. So why are people giving you advice to eat a stick of butter before you go to bed? Butter itself is high histamine to a lot of people who are so sensitive to whey and casein, the very tiny amounts that's still left over, people react to. Bad advice. And from some doctors. Oh, just eat some stick of butter, eat some butter before you go to bed. But if you don't digest it, or if you're having histamine response, now your sleep's jacked up. And you're in this negative loop. So, experiment. Use a glucometer. Find out if you're reactive to butter. You don't need to eat a stick of butter before bed because you have dysglycemia or hypoglycemia. What's better is something like egg yolks, but they also have a little bit of protein in them for those who have histamine reactions to egg yolks, but they're soft. They got a little fat, little protein. Or ground turkey. Yes, turkey is low histamine. It's got a little tryptophan in it. Ground meat, less digesting. And how much? 1 or 2 tablespoons, maybe an hour before bed. Maybe if you have hypoglycemia and waking up in the middle of the night often. Like Ding! You have to experiment. Not everybody can just do that. They have hypochlorhydria so bad they can't even eat a tablespoon before they go to bed. And that means the timing of your food in the day has to be spot on to your lifestyle, which is why I don't do a one-stop shop advice, because everyone is different. Yeah. Make sure your gallbladder is functioning properly. Look to see if your poop is floating or yellow or white or pale, greasy, bloated. I've talked about this ad nauseum. Different solutions to work on your gallbladder ad nauseum. Make sure that you can eat this fat. Otherwise, you can't get into ketosis. The body's not breaking down the fat to even convert into ketones. So do not overeat fat before bed. You could be creating a bomb explosion of health problems. And your hair can start falling out because you're not in ketosis. You're not. And you've got the zealot carnivore people who end up on my video like, oh my God, you're so wrong. And then they never break down any science. I'm doing amazing. Well, you can say anything. If you want to speak to me in a live, then I would love to hear you say how amazing you are when I start questioning the details that you were never taught to even know to question in yourself. So when you're hearing me for the first time say it, people are like, oh, she's nuts. She's wrong. I'm amazing. I'm fabulous. But a lot of people just don't recognize their symptomology. They don't, because they might feel a little bit better than they did before, but they don't actually understand how their electrolytes are not in balance, how they might be a little bit low GFR, low blood pressure. May not even recognize those symptoms. It could be just lifting at the gym and getting that extra burn that you didn't have before. Yes, I think this needs to be a part 2. Comment below. But please don't prime. Don't do this garbage that you've been taught. You cannot get into ketosis and all that protein. You're putting a stress on your digestive system. And if you've got thyroid issues, if you've got kidney issues, gallbladder issues, you might want to rethink how you do everything. Yeah, moderate to low protein, high fat. There's no limit to fat as long as your gallbladder works. And always animal fat. Now, if you want olive oil or some kind of plant fat for pleasure, it's the same thing with soda water. Pleasure. Can't hydrate yourself on bubbly water. That's too much air. You got to drink water. People ask me, what do you drink? I'm like, water? Yeah, just water. H2O. Hope this helps. I think I'm going to do part 2. Yeah. Energy at 57, going on 58 and counting. Yeah. I'm getting something right. I definitely got the energy. Yeah. For the people who watched my, the dating video, thank you for the comments. That was very, very lovely. I'm going to go more into I'm 57. I'm almost 58. I got some experience. Used to be a pro skater. I'm in the Smithsonian Institute. Traveled. Used to live in Europe. 16 år. Och det är därför jag pratar svenska. För att jag bor i Sverige några år. I lived in Sweden for a long time. I got there because of being a pro skater. Yeah. So I got some stuff stories. And it might be interesting to some, or some people might just go, get back to the health blah. But I think it'd be interesting. I think so. I left Hollywood and moved to Tennessee. I left the tyranny and garbage of that reality. I don't believe anything those motherfuckers say. Anything, not a single detail. They can say whatever and I'm just like, tune out. Rediscovering life in my late 50s and learning how to be young again and to be fit and strong and ready to live life to its fullest. Yeah. There's so much to learn. And I'm out. Peace.